Chapter 4. The Night Wanderer, Chapter 4. The last time the man from Europe had stood on this land, it had not been called Canada, nor had this part been called Ontario or even Toronto. Though the very essence of this country flowed through him and always had, he was a stranger in a strange land. It smelled differently, nevertheless. His time in Toronto's airport had been intolerable and time-consuming. There had been no mishaps on the flight over, which arrived a scant hour and a half after midnight, yet it was the beginning of a very long, confining day. On his late arrival, the car rental booth had been closed, making him a prisoner of the airport. He spent most of it in various men's room stalls and moving about the airport, trying to avoid suspicion. His plan had originally been to order a car and leave the airport as soon as possible. However, his flight from London was the last of the night, and everything in the airport was closed by the time he got through customs at 2 a.m. The man had considered booking a hotel room nearby, but he favored the space and the variety of the airport, enjoyed walking its closed-in and sheltered areas. Years of experience had taught him how to avoid detection, and during the wee hours of the day in one of the most secure airports in the country, he wandered freely. Once the airport opened and the sun came up, he mingled with the multitudes. As always, he was careful to stay clear of windowed sections or the outside world occasionally peeked in. Some of the security personnel gave him the odd glance, for he was a hard man to miss. He wasn't overly large, but the way he carried himself drew notice. He walked tall and proud, yet his movements were slow, soft, and deliberate, like those of an animal hunting its prey. Each step, motion of hand, or turn of neck seemed to be perfectly orchestrated, but without feeling or passion, or, if it could be possible, life. There was also a sense of weariness about him, like a traveler in the middle of a journey that would never end. He navigated his environment like death was his friend, not his enemy. Plus, he was darker than most of the migrating passengers, as if he came from an ancient time where white people were unknown. Yet that darkness was softened by the peculiar pallor that affected him, washing out his dusty complexion. It was like the sun had once kissed his skin, but had long since abandoned him. The stranger moved through a room like a feather on a current of air. He wore sunglasses and carried his hair in a polite ponytail. He wore a well-tailored but unassuming pant and a shirt, all in dark colors. There was a sharpness to his bone structure and an underlying strength in his attitude. The shape of his eyes and cheekbones confessed an unusual heritage. At one point, in a quiet part of the airport near some of the shops, some fool had attempted to lift the man's wallet. But in the end, the man got to keep his wallet, and the unfortunate thief, whose name was Olk, found himself with 2 broken fingers. He couldn't say it had all happened so fast. He found the man in a bookstore, cautiously leafing through some books about Canadian Indigenous population, his attention completely taken by the literature. Some sleight of hand, and Olcock had the wallet half out of the man's pocket before his mark suddenly displayed some of his own unique sleight of hand. Except his wasn't so slight as Olcock expected, and it was somewhat faster. "I'm sorry, I believe that's mine," the man said, grasping the thief's wrist. Thinking quickly, Olcock resorted to the old adage, "A good defense is a strong offense." Using all of his strength, he rammed his left fist into the man's ribs, hoping for a quick getaway. He felt his fist hit with a satisfying thump and heard the 2 fingers in his hand snap. Before he knew what was occurring, a wave of pain washed over him and he fell to his knees, cradling his injured hand. He looked up, half in fear, half in anger, but the mysterious man had disappeared. Airport security, having heard his cry, was approaching the thief quickly. He had 4 other stolen wallets in his jacket. Today was not a good day for a pickpocket named Olcock. It wasn't until just after dark that the man from Europe approached a rental car kiosk on the arrivals level. He had all the right papers and identification in his wallet, even an international driver's license. It bore the name Pierre Leroy. At 8:34 p.m., the man left Pearson International Airport in a Toyota Camry headed north.